So before we get rolling into the next thing I got planned, I wanted to look at this game for a bit. I knew I would eventually talk about this game, but I was surprised, shocked really, that this game would ever get re-released in any way. That being Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the video game. For those unaware, Scott Pilgrim was an early 2000s graphic novel made by Brian Lee O'Malley about a Canadian in his mid-20s dating a girl from America named Ramona. Doesn't sound too exciting, but oh yeah, she has 7 evil ex-boyfriends.
7 evil exes, yes.
Right, exes. And Scott just so happens to be one of the best fighters in all of Canada. So Scott has to defeat the League of 7 evil exes so he can date this girl. While the premise is definitely interesting, there's a lot of cool things that came out of this series. Scott to me was relatable, even if he wasn't the best person at times when it came to his relationships. For anyone who's read the books, you get what I mean. So after halfway through the series, Universal Studios decided to make a movie tie-in and consult Brian Lee O'Malley on the story, since he hadn't finished writing the story yet. One of the original endings to the film actually had Scott end up with Knives Chow. Of course, one of the endings was that the whole situation had been a dream. Scott was actually a serial killer who murdered the 7 people, then dreamed up the video game scenario. The plan was supposed to have a local news station cover the murders? Wow. But that wasn't the way the books were supposed to end, but most of the filming was done, so they had to edit the script and rewrite the ending. Which is why some people say, oh, the book is much better than the movies. Yeah, that's usually true, but then I enjoy them both. The soundtrack was kick-ass, Michael Cera had some nice chemistry with Mary Elizabeth Winston, Gay Wallace was greatly portrayed by Kieran Culkin, fucking the Atom and Captain America were in this movie before they landed those roles. But yeah, I really did enjoy the series, and it clearly had an inspiration on me, as well as the amount of times I quote this movie, but you know me. So this game came out in 2010, first on the PS3, then on Xbox 360. Then, after almost 10 years later, onto the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and it says Windows, but I guess maybe that's Steam? Obviously the one I will be looking at is the PS3, because this game isn't re-released yet, since it was delisted almost 6 or so years ago thanks to Ubisoft. The game was released to capitalize on the movie coming out with it, but honestly, I think the game is better than the movie, and I love the movie. But it has been a while since I've done a full playthrough of this game, so let's look at Scott Pilgrim's precious little life to see if he gets it together with Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Spoilers, I guess, well, it's not really, you know what, here. So I guess story-wise, the game follows the books closer than the movie, or, well, there's a lot of more nods to the book. Anyway, the game follows an extremely bastardized story of both mediums. Scott starts to date Ramona, then you are tasked with defeating Ramona's 7 evil ex-boyfriends.
Exes.
Right. You go through and fight the League, as well as a few other notable mentions. You have Pirate Boy Matthew Patel and his demon hipster chicks, pretty famous skater and now pretty famous actor Lucas Lee, Vegan Boy Todd Ingram, as well as the mini-boss fight of Envy Adams and Lynette Guycott, the half-ninja girl Roxanne Roxy Richards, who explodes into cute little animals a la Sonic the Hedgehog, and at this point, the optional boss fight, which I am so happy that I can finally show off, Mr. Chow. He will randomly show up around this time, and you can fight him if you see him on the Overworld Map, and then he can become a summon you can use if you defeat him. In my entire 10 years of having this game, this was the first time I ever got him to show up. After which you have the handsome jerk and perfect asshat of Canonical Katayangi. Then you have to first fight a small robot, then the giant robot that shows up in the comics, which was a nice treat. Then there's the negative awesome Negascott, which leads into the final fight with the mind-controlling Gideon Graves that you have going through 3 of his forms before he begs for forgiveness and you kick him so hard he saw the curvature of the earth. Then, roll credits. Gives us a nice little enemy roll call, then the rest of the credits. And still going. Holy 15 minutes of credits? Yes, I timed it. Every time you beat this game, you have to watch the same credit sequence for 15 minutes that you can't skip. Let's break that down. You have a total of 7 playable characters to play as, each with a unique ending. That means you have to sit through the credits. That means 1 hour and 45 minutes of watching the credits in total. That's almost the same runtime as the movie. All right. On the topic of things this game gets wrong, because there is a bit of things to talk about here. The game is pretty glitchy at point, mostly some minor visual stuff, which is fine, but there are times when I have been alive at 0 HP running around, which, I mean, hooray, but on top of that, I've had times where the music won't play during a stage, I have time where I've cleared all the enemies on stage and the level won't let me progress, so I had to either die or restart the level. And let me talk about the final DLC. This is my only real big complaint with this game, and that is the Wallace, Wells, and Online Mode DLC. This came out almost 3 years later after the game, and the movie had died down and added Wallace Wells, one of my favorite characters in the series, into the game, as well as an online mode that people were asking about. But the problem with Wallace is he was lazily added into the game. If you look, he's just a recolor of Steven Stills. His taunt has him glitter around, and his ending is just this. Look at my boy! Look how they massacred my boy! Compared to everyone else who I know are in the game base, which, let's address this, yes, Nega Scott is a clone of Scott, with the exception he has 2 different special moves he can use, as well as Nega Knives. But like, he is Nega Scott! He's supposed to be a clone! If you look at Knives, which was the first DLC, she is her own fully fleshed out character. She's in a recolor, she has her own moveset as well. The DLC was also delayed due to quality control? Clearly it wasn't on Wallace, and more so on the multiplayer mode. It was just a letdown to see them do this to my boy Wallace. Alright, let's get to the good, because this game does do a lot of things right. For one, there's a lot of references to other popular titles of games everywhere, just like in both the comic and the movie. From Sonic, Kirby, Mario, Final Fantasy, Mega Man, Zelda, tons of reference to the River City Ransom, another great series of beat-em-ups where you can go around and buy food to increase your stats and hold on to snacks. This game also supports an EX mode where your character goes nuts, moves super fast, and can score crazy high combo hits. The game supports up to 4 players, which I don't have 4 PS3 controllers anymore, but hey, you can break this game with multiplayer mode since you can share HP as well as bring up your friends if they get down, as well as be able to steal their lives if you run out. If you taunt together, you can do a screen clear Yeti that will reduce all on-screen enemies to 0 and requires you to down them to get rid of them. The game also has a multitude of endings depending on who's first in the party. Scott has technically the worst ending because he defeats Nega Scott, who embodies his past and his mistakes, so him and Ramona break up and he starts dating Kim, Knives, and Envy at the same time. Steven Stills shows that the band becomes a huge success. Ramona's ending is canonical to that of the books and the movie, which is nice, meaning she defeats Scott's past and his mistakes as a way of accepting them. Knives has a wedding with a confused Scott. Kim, in a nice nod to the comic book, has Kim walk off with Knives, hinting at something there, but anyone who's read the comic knows what's up. I mentioned Wallace's ending, then Nega Scott, which is unlocked after beating the game with the main 4 characters. Then his ending is putting everyone to work in the salt mines and going to bed, which I couldn't even imagine what else it would be, and I'm sure this is a reference in itself. The art style is done by the amazing Paul Robertson, and while he has done pixel art for this game and Mercenary Kings, you might know him for his work on the Adult Swim bumpers, which really helps sells this world's zaniness. The music, man, if you haven't even played the game, it's done by the awesome chiptune artists of Ramona'S, which, if it wasn't for this game, I wouldn't have found half of their awesome albums, from their EP to Endless Fantasy, and they quickly became one of my favorite bands, if that wasn't evident enough. For awesome tracks like Another Winter, just like in the movies, to Shine Bros, this entire soundtrack would be played on loop while I was moving around on campus back in high school. In fact, I was listening to the soundtrack again while writing up the script. This game is definitely one of my favorites, even after 10 long years, and I'm happy it can be re-released so it can let my PS3 rest and not scream at me like a banshee. Hopefully they address some of these technical hiccups, but even if they don't, there's a solid game here. Oh yeah, I didn't even mention the cheat codes that you can do, like if you hold down both triggers in the PS3 version, then do the Contra code, you give up your life for $50, or 50 Canadian dollars. Another cheat code done on the Overworld map unlocks the music room. If you're on the main menu, you can unlock Boss Rush mode, Zombie Survival, and also Dodgeball mode, which are nice little distractions, but apparently unlocked with the Knives DLC. You can also get the Power of Love sword on any level, as well as the ability to play as the same character in multiplayer mode. But I would definitely recommend getting this game. It's a nice little game to pick up and play if you're a fan of the series, or even if you're a fan of beat-em-ups like the River City games, or even like Double Dragon. Well, with that, I'd like to officially start the next marathon I have planned. This one is going to be a little different than usual. I'd like to announce that this is the year of platformers, and this is going to be a bit more of a retrospect of different games that I've looked over the course of my life. And while I do like RPGs, my first real big love of video games was platformers. Now, I may have to sidestep to coexist with a few games I want to look at that are coming out this year, but I have a few series I want to look at in particular. Now, I won't be tackling Sonic or Mario. I figure those boys need their own marathons. It wouldn't do them justice to look at just a few of their games. So I'll be looking at these in phases, and first will be that of the original PlayStation 1 era, with the ones I grew up with, starting with that little purple dragon, Spyro. I also won't be covering every game in each series. I more or less want to check out the ones that I grew up with, the ones I remember. I do want to see where they went after I moved on to the other series, although for now, I think this is a safe bet to at least get us started. But hey, you made it to the end, so maybe you liked the video, or if not, tell me in the comment section below, and go ahead and make sure you tap that subscribe button and smack that bell to know when the next video will be out. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again real soon.